What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mana 3 podcast. We have our boy here, Douglas James.
What's up, Doug? What's up? What's up? Is this thing working?
It's on. It's on. I think we're good, right? We're goody. So excited to jump into some conversations, dive into some talks here today. But, dude, you just got back from Vegas. Some event, following you on social. A lot of cool things going on. What's going on with Vegas, and what are you getting into right now?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me. It's good to actually meet you in person. And, Oscar, we've been homies for a while, dude. It's so cool to see you doing your thing, being in your element, living for Jesus. And, dude, that's great. So, so we were just in Vegas. It was actually the first time in a while that me and my wife got to like break from the kids. We went to Vegas for 5 days, stayed at the Fontainebleau, which is like the newest resort hotel there. Beautiful. It's beautiful. We stayed in like one of the suites. They have like a state-of-the-art spa there with like 5 different saunas. Actually, one sauna was pretty cool. It's an event sauna. Like you have your standard hot sauna, infrared sauna, all that stuff. But this one, like they actually had like a theater in there with a screen, like surround sound, and there was a lady going through these different classes, and then some breathing exercises, and we did it. And Sonia, my wife, actually had like this incredible like transformation. Like she actually broke into tears and like released, I guess, this trauma, that she had in her body, and we had our daughter Camila, and we didn't have like the most smoothest birds, so it was tough, but it was beautiful to see Sonia like actually go through that, and I was there to support her. But yeah, man, the breathing the Wyckoff method, yeah, sauna, this stuff's so good for you. But anyway, like we were there in Vegas to, so this is the event. So Russell Brunson, somebody that has been like a mentor of mine that I've listened to from a marketing and sales perspective for like many, many years. And I've used his technology like in my company to scale my company to get results for myself and for my clients. So we've actually done over 9 figures in revenue using his marketing technology. And they keep every year. I kept getting like these awards in the mail, like these big plaques with my name on it. And what the heck is this, right? And he's been doing these events for like 10 years, and I've been in the game for like 10 years. So I decided to go to his event, but mainly not really to attend the event, to go to the parties, because the deals are made in the hallways,
Right.
deals are made at the dinners and the parties, right? So I really went for that. But as soon as I got there on Wednesday night, I went to just go get my badge. So, I'm not the creepy guy sneaking in at the event. People can actually see I'm here, part of it's like 6,000 people there. And I go get my badge, and they start putting all the stickers for all the awards I won. And I had like all these ribbons down to like my crotch from the badge.
Now you're just showing off.
Yeah, I'm not even exaggerating. I was like, and you walk through, and it's kind of like a marketing thing, because you can see like, okay, who's made how much money, online, which is cool. So, and they're like, hey, this is your first time at, FHL, which you can go get your picture with Russell on stage. I'm like, seriously? I was like, I've never done that. So basically they have awards, or if you do $1 million, 10 million, 25, 50, and 100 million. And I basically qualify for like all of them. So I went in the room, and there's like the lines to get your photo for the million and the 10 million are like super, super long, but the ones for like the 25 million and up is of course really short.
Yeah.
So it was only me and like a handful of people. And then what kind of sucks is like you got to wait for everyone to go, and then you're the last one. Me and Sony had like a dinner reservation at 8 o'clock at Zuma, which is an amazing like Asian fusion restaurant in Vegas at the Cosmopolitan, which I recommend you check out. There's one in Miami too. But yeah, I go up there, we wait, and Sonia makes it there about 8 o'clock, like right on the dot, and I'm going on stage and get my photo. And it was super cool experience. I never did that before, so I got to meet Russell and get the photo. And there was thousands of people there, and it was a cool experience. So did that, and really the event for me was just about like I said, to support friends, because I had a couple friends throwing a couple big parties and dinners, and I went to go support them, and and I got a lot of business solutions.
That marketing world, it's literally like its own separate world, right? I mean, it's like it's almost like the magic that happens behind the scenes to a lot of the big companies and high profile people that are out there, right? Would you say?
Yeah.
And you recently pivoted kind of your platform and relaunched or launched a new company. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I mean, so I've been in the marketing space, for almost 11 years now. I started by doing lead generation. So I'm the guy you come to when you want to get more customers from the internet for anything you sell, right? And I actually work with like over 50 different brick and mortar verticals. I work with online coaches, ran ads for some of the biggest people you might follow on social media. And I launched a coaching consulting company after doing that for some time, because I was in the Navy for 10 years, right? So when I was building my company, I was still active duty. By the way, I was active duty for 4 years while still building my marketing company. So there was a point where I was making like my annual salary in like a month. And then it turned into making that in 2 weeks while I'm still active duty. It was insane. But I say that because I had a lot of like friends and active duty other personnel come to me while we're in uniform and be like, dude, I heard about you. Like, can you teach me how to make money? And I'm like, yeah. So I went home, like started to document what I did to like go acquire a client, like a dentist or a chiropractor or, med spa salon, and get them on as a client and sell like these $2,000 to $5,000 a month packages just to get them more patients. And I documented that in a video series, and I started to sell it for like, a couple $1,000 or whatever. And it's probably the worst course ever, because I just recorded videos and I put it in Dropbox. It wasn't even like you log in and it's professional. It was, but I started to help veterans, basically active duty, transition to entrepreneurship. And it was really awesome to help my brothers and sisters at the time, and I still do. And now I've helped literally any type of individual transition into the entrepreneur space. But the thing that I give them to transition out of like a 9-to-5 job to being a business owner is the lead gen model, working with small businesses and helping them be customers, right? So I tell you all that because I launched this coaching consulting company, and we ended up doing like, just in that offer alone, over $70 million in revenue. And I spent like $25 million on ads. And this is obviously over 5 years or so, 6 years time frame, right? And if you ever run ads or spend any kind of money to acquire new patients, customers, or clients, you're gonna have to go through some bad leads, right? Just because somebody gives you their name, email, phone number on your website doesn't mean they're gonna give you money. Yeah, exactly, right? So there's like probably a 20 to 30% conversion on a good day. Like I would say on average 5 to 10%, And so dealing with leads and bad leads was a super common occurrence over those years. I would have my marketing and advertising team say, hey, the leads are great. They put on their form, they make this amount of money and they're qualified. And the sales team would take the call.
So you're telling me the Glenn Ross, you are going. First off, have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
Glenn Gary, what is it? The leads aren't weak, the gold are weak.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of like that. And basically, if you're promoting and advertising to a broad range of people, you're going to get a broad range of people to call.
Yeah.
Right. And you might have an application that people fill out before they book a call with you or something, right?
Yeah.
You might ask about their finances, if they're qualified to work with you. We found that like 50% of that data is like inaccurate because people just lie or just don't want to divulge their finances or tell you the true story of why they're trying to book a call with you.
I think you bring up the point, like just the expectation of the person you're working with, that thinks that just because they're doing it right away, that they're going to get a return, when there's a cost to figuring it out and to doing the conversion, right? Is that you're going to have those bad leads. You're going to not know what to do. Talk about setting the expectation now with your clients, like early on to now. Like you can say, hey, look, you're going to go through this time period. This is because you've done this a million times now. You're so much predictable, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And we've had to go through that and set that expectation. Hey, you got to take the good with the bad. If you're marketing to a broad community, people are going to put their name as FU and fu@gmail.com, right? Or stuff like that.
Right. But that lead is half the battle. I mean, you're helping them get that first 50, in other words, get the lead in. They still have to be able to follow through with the lead.
Yeah.
Sell whatever product they're selling, follow up, do all the necessary things. And I think, and me coming from real estate, that's where I see most of the people fail.
Yeah.
Right. They can throw all the money at it, at generating leads, but they're the weak ones, right? They don't have the ability to kind of push through. How much of that do you actually deal with in your space?
Yeah. So these are all conversations that you guys are having. I've had to set expectations. We've had to deal with bad leads. And I, not only for our clients, but for me, imagine spending like $20+ million to scale your company and have a marketing team claim that every lead is gold and a sales team complain that the leads are broke all the time or not bought. So,
Well, is this the difference between the being a broad versus a targeted market? Because I wanted you to talk about that, like the difference between like and marketing to a wider net of people, or the challenge of like targeting it, but you're going to get less leads. What's the happy medium there?
yeah, so there's tools like, Facebook and Google's API. They try to give you things, hey, these people are interested in dental services, or hey, these people have, they're the top 25% income bracket in the country, right? That API is like 40% accurate. So it's hard to just rely on that. So what I did was, yeah, it's not. So what I did was just over a year ago, I got fed up with it. I'm done with like dealing with these bad leads. There's got to be some way to fix this problem, right? Because I would spend $1, make $4 in our marketing. Next month I would spend $1 and lose $2. So it was like this common business battle. And I'm a paid ads guy. Like there's organic strategy where you just post on social media, get followers, and try to turn those into customers. Mine is, let me spend the money on ads and convert, make $1 and try to make $3 to $4 back for every dollar I spend. That's my wheelhouse. So what I did was I basically figured out how to get I've developed technology. Whenever somebody opts into your website or your funnel with their name, email, phone number, I'm able to pull like their exact credit information, their exact finances, and even like if they're what their net worth looks like as well. And then from here, we can actually determine who's legitimately financially capable of affording your product or service and who's not, and start to dynamically filter out people that are not, and start to allow the sales team to focus on people that are. And that's all that's going to do is create efficiency. So there's no more guesswork on who your team should call or engage with to book on your calendar. And that's helped us increased revenue by as much as 30%. We've seen revenue per buyer go up 25%. We're seeing clients that are running ads with that qualified data. They're just pushing the qualified data, like the 700+ credit scores, back to Google and Facebook.
Yeah.
And they're seeing like somewhat of a 40% bump in qualified leads booking on the calendar. And that just translates into more revenue, higher return on ad spend.
What does that look like for like a company that says, hey, you need to, invest 5% of what the company's making into marketing, and out of that 5%, you should expect what type of return based off of that percentage, or is there in your space?
To be frank, we just try to say, can you spend $1 and make $1 back and not lose money? If we can do that,
Has retention? Is that why repeat business? Why do you say $1 to make $1?
yeah, spend $1, make $1 because of retention, right? There's going to be LTV, lifetime value of a customer. So chiropractor niche, for example, if somebody signs up for your chiropractor service, let's say it costs you $20 to generate that patient, right? And you spend $20, great, you broke even. Congratulations. Now, when they first come in to do business with you, you might not make a lot of money out the gate, but they're not going to get adjusted once they just got in a car wreck or something happened. They're going to be with you for the next 6 months.
Right.
So it's a long-term play. And that's sometimes you have to kind of consider that. Even if you're generating leads for like, real estate, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can, but the point to actually me saying that is, if you can run an ad, spend $1 and make $1, that's a great foundational start, because there's a lot of optimization improvement we can make, from there.
You take it to another level after that.
Exactly. That's all we're trying to do, is how do we break even on your marketing? Because this is an expense. And if you're not making money, or if you're losing money with me, I can't justify why you should keep me around.
Yeah.
But if I can at least get you to break even, boom, that's a great foundational start. Now we can work on the things.
And would you say like different industries or different clients that you have, they have different acquisition costs for their cost per client? Like it might cost that chiropractor, $20, where it might cost another industry maybe $100 to get a client. I mean, it varies in industry, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, for most businesses, like on a bad day, $20, you can get someone's name, email, phone number from social media. But I would probably say for most.
Mm-hmm. What's your next move? Yeah, for business. What's next level stuff for you right now?
So right now, LeadFi is the technology that I kind of just alluded to. That's what I'm focusing on big time right now. We already have like, 50, 7, 8, and even 9-figure brands. My goal is to scale this to 100 million valuation, and actually, and not necessarily driving to the sunset, but I'm really invested and believe in disruptive technology like AI, artificial intelligence, right? And some of our intellectual property for that company is built on AI. So I'm focusing heavy on LeadFi right now. I'm still doing the coaching, consulting, and the advertising, because that's like what I am at the core. But software is super interesting because of AI. And what I found is every billionaire I've ever met, they have gotten into technology or things early before they become massively adopted by the public. There's something called the diffusion of innovation. By the way, if you want to like pass out and go to sleep really quick, pick up that book and start reading it, because it is a sleeper. It's heavy language. But the diffusion innovation is it talks about adoption of every new technology, right? And how when in the beginning stages, there's the inventors and there's the investors, right? Then there's early majority, late majority, and the laggards, right? We look at the internet, right? The internet came out in the 90s, and actually I think it came out maybe early in the 80s, but by the time it was getting more mainstream, there was a newspaper article in 1999, and the newspaper said, the internet's just a passing fad. Millions give up on it, right? And look at us now.
Yeah.
You guys are probably going to upload this online, and thousands of stuff going on.
With that, what do you think? What's the future for AI?
I mean, it's endless.
How you're going to use it? I mean, how you see it? Like, what's your vision for it, for how you're doing your business?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we can speculate on where AI is going to go. But I think like right now, the biggest thing that I think that I'm taking away, that I think a lot of people should consider, is if you're not like using AI to make better, faster, smarter decisions, you're going to just get, left behind. The way you did it a few years ago or even 10 years ago is getting replaced. Jobs, so to speak, for example, jobs, like you're not going to lose your job because of AI, but you're going to lose your job to someone that learns how to use AI to get results faster to the business out there.
So many people, especially those older, right, have always been resistant to technology. We were recently talking about that as far as like embracing it. And I've always felt that with technology, you're either going to make it work for you, or you're going to become a slave to it. I mean, that's the short of it, right? Talk about just social in general, right? The attention. Is it using you to suck in your attention, or are you using it for data to optimize whatever it is that you're doing? It doesn't always have to be in a dollar form, right? It'd be personal growth. It could be a lot of these other areas.
A lot about people not using it at all, and that's even more scary because they're not even being enslaved to it. So it's just like playing the game. It's just like we're having now. You gotta adapt to it.
Dude, let's pivot a little bit. So I've known you for 10 years, man, and it's exciting to see not only your personal growth, your business growing. I always say there's a lot of people that look like they're crushing it on social. I know you personally, you're doing it, and I still think that you're in the infant stages, right? It's kind of like AI, like you said right now, like I don't know where this is gonna go. You're just gonna know it's going somewhere, right? And I feel that you're right there with it because you're embracing it. In your success, you've got married, you have 2 beautiful kids, beautiful wife. Kind of like walk us through a little bit of that journey of where you've struggled, because everyone sees the sunshine and rainbows, right? Kind of walk us through like where have you hit those pivotal points where you either had to pivot personally or with your business, and how and what got you out of it?
Yeah. Wow. Being in business for 10 years, you guys probably have, what I'm talking about. It's not always green candles, right? If you like stocks or crypto, right? You got red candles and green candles, sometimes things go up and then they go down, right? You have market cycles every 4 years, real estate, every 12 years or 9 years. So, I've experienced those too in 10 years, and on personal side with my marriage and, on the business side, easier. I'll start with the business side, because I need to work into the personal. Let's warm you up a little bit. So you're on out with explain that one. But no, not all good stuff, of course. But yeah, I mean, man, and we might get over to the Christian side of this too with the story, but yeah, I've seen some incredible highs. I've done $30 million in a year in my company, just in 1 year, and I've had years where I've done less than 50,000, less than what I was making in the military. And it's tough, to ride that wave, and and through that time, I'll say that, me and my wife, Sonia, we've known each other since 2014. I was in the Navy for 10 years, right? And I was stationed in Naples, Italy before I came here to San Diego. And I got here in, I think June of 2014, right? So just about 11 years ago or so. And I met Sonia immediately and we started dating. Of course, it was super rocky in the beginning. I had another thing going on over here. I had some over there. I was young, trying to figure it out. I was like 25. Said no one there. Funny. So, yeah. So, you know how it is. And, but me and Sonia got really serious about 6 months after we first met. That's when we kind of like, all right, this is what it is. And I went on the deployment. And I was like, all right, I'm going to wait for her. I'm going to live for her. And if she waits for me too, then that's the real deal. So I went on deployment for 8 months, came back, and we kept up with each other for that whole time. Emails, when I went to Papua New Guinea, Fiji, and the Philippines on a humanitarian mission. So we were building schools for kids and doing a whole bunch of amazing work. And we didn't always have cell service, right? Or even internet. There was days we didn't have internet. So, on the water. So, but we kept up with each other. I came back and, yeah, we didn't tie the knot, but we're like, this is it,
It's kind of around was that around the time that you and I linked up at the gym? Because she was working out there with you.
Yeah.
What year? She'd been with you since
14 years.
10 years, about 14 years. Yeah, 10 years. She was with me before any of this business stuff at all. It was like, actually, the conversations we were having, like, we're going to stay together, like, where are you going to get deployed next? Where are we going to get to live next? And I was actually trying to go to Yokosuka, Japan next, and go on that side of the world. But then, man, as soon as I found like digital marketing and started doing my thing there, it's like, wow, it really blew my eyes of like the value of your time, and then I started really optimize my life to, what is serving me the best in my life and cutting out the things that aren't serving me, like, bad people, bad friends, alcohol, even though I have an old fashioned every now. But not like,
Nothing wrong with it.
nothing wrong with that, right?
Bar right here, man. We can just dive in.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. This is actually a very nice bar. Thanks, man. It's beautiful. Kudos to my wife. And I love your office, man. It's beautiful home.
Dude, so a Man Up, we already know like the movement with Man Up, it's about encouraging men, to be stronger businessmen, fathers, husbands.
Yeah.
Everything, most people's attitudes, everything's coming at a cost, right? We feel that even though you're never in balance, it's more the pursuit of balance and being intentional in these spaces. And a lot of times, when we've talked to a lot of highly successful men, it's almost like the victim mentality. It's like, hey, I had to achieve this financially, but it cost me my marriage. I had to achieve this financially, but it cost me the relationship with my kids. I had to achieve this financially, and it cost me my health.
Yeah.
Kind of walk us through a little bit about that. I want to dive in a little bit deeper as far as like where you've been, where those challenges, and let's dive in a little bit in your faith, like where God kind of played a role in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that I'm not free from sin, and others are. Yeah, and none of us are. You make all that money, you have all these people around you, and I wasn't there for my kids all the time.
When did you realize that?
Yeah. I was noticing that my business was being affected because I was like not focusing on it, thinking everything's fine, right? And I was watching my business kind of like go down a slope a little bit. Like I was printing a red candle, right? So to speak. And I was trying to fix it. And it was kind of like God was telling me, dude, you have like this beautiful family, this beautiful company, but you're not giving me any attention. I gave you all this. I blessed you with all this. And you forgot about it.
He's jealous, bro.
Yeah. And that's how it felt. And And I didn't see it right away, right? I just thought that I was living the way of the world for a sense, because me and Sonia, one of the main things that attracted to me to Sonia was her faith and her family. Growing up, I grew up in a household where like I was abused physically, verbally. My dad was a paranoid schizophrenic, drug, alcohol, abusing, all of that stuff, beating my mom. It was a horrible thing I had to live through as a kid, and I had a sister, and we're very fortunate that we made it out of that household. And you know, I say all that because I was almost falling into a hole of, you know, of the life that I thought, you know, like my father was living, that, and I thought that he was going to be the example of me not to live. But then I found myself, wow, I'm like drinking a lot. I'm partying a lot. I'm not being a good husband. I'm not being a good father. My business was tanking at the time. And this was like a year and a half ago, like where I actually felt like I was hitting rock bottom, like legitimately. And I just remember like falling to my knees, you know, and because I didn't have the family that Sonia had, her brothers and sisters, right? And when I first met Sonia, I was like, man, she's got this beautiful family. They pray together, they go to church, they live for Christ. You know, they have so much respect and love. And I never experienced anything like that. So when I first met Sonia, I'm like, this is what really locked me into her. And I lost focus of that for like almost over a year, you know, and thought that, oh, I got this business, I have this money, you know, and then things just started doing a little way where like me and Sonia, we didn't know if we were going to be able to, if we were going to say, wow, it was that tough, you know, and we were trying to go through therapy and we weren't intimate. We fought often. I didn't see my kids often. It was actually a really sad time, man. But I literally just felt I was in my office and I have a mirror, like I have this big mirror to the right of me.
Yeah.
And I just looked at myself in the mirror. And I'm like, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? Like, you have this family, you have these skills, you built this company, you're losing it all. I just got out of my chair and I fell to my knees and I just started praying. And I said, what do you need me to do?
Amen.
You know, and he just started to speak to me, and I just remember bawling, and I stood up and I'm like, okay, you deserve way more than what I'm giving you. I don't feel deserving of anything you've given me. And in that moment, I just actually decided, like, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change how I'm showing up for my family, my health, my kids, my business, my employees. And I ended up going on like I was like, I need to humble myself. I need to strip away luxuries.
Get yourself out of the way.
Yeah. I need to stop buying first class tickets to flights and fly coach. I need to, you know, check in on my wife, make sure that she's good and make her breakfast. I need to change the baby's diaper. I need to do all the things that to start to live for my family. And I ended up going on like this 4-day fast too. Like that next Monday, I started a 4-day fast where I didn't eat anything. I just drank water and had like some bone broth. And then it was like a cleansing, you know, and I read my Bible every day. I went to church for 4 days, prayed heavy. And I really just felt like after that, like I was saved, you know?
Let's go.
And it was the biggest transformation I think I've ever met spiritually, because up until that point, I never fully gave in. I didn't really understand it. Like, dude, this is like, even though I'm wearing this right now, this is new.
Let's go. I love that.
This is new as of like a year. Because I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't rock this, right? But I've seen my life in such a deep point where I'm literally bottom and I feel like I'm losing it all. I'm going to lose my marriage, I'll lose my business. I did all this for nothing. And then I got it all back. Like,
What a blessing. I want to talk what a blessing in disguise. Yeah, that is. And I think for a lot of us, and I think you and I can agree, we've both been there. No question. And sometimes everyone has a man like us, sometimes that's what it takes.
You know, there's a story in the Word where it talks about Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel is warning Nebuchadnezzar, like, you can't say you did all this. Like, God gave you the capability to be a king, and you have all this. You have this kingdom, this mighty kingdom. But if you ever say again that you did this on your own, you're going to lose it. And what he did was he got up on the top of his palace. He said, man, look at what all I created. And he had 7 periods of time where he was in the wilderness as a wild beast. He had just a mental condition, but God gave it back to him. But he did it to humble him. I think we all get to a point where, you know, God does something in our life and he gets our heart because he never wants to let us go. He never stops pursuing us. And we get to decide when that day is. And that day you decided, you know what? I'm going to live for God. He's number 1. Sony is number 2. Dad is number 3. And everything else he's going to work it out. And now you're a new man. How does that feel?
I'm holding back right now because it's
No, untouched. I was actually,
the last year. It's been really tough, guys.
wow. It's all good, but it's all that.
Just so thankful. Oh, dude, you're my kids, my wife. You know, I've never known love like until I met Sonia, and then when I realized that you can push Jesus away so much, but he's just like, I'm here for you. Come. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how hard it is, he wants your attention. He'll fight for you. No matter how hard you might hate him, he still loves you.
I want to make a point here. You are a very successful man. You have done things that no one's ever going to do. And you got on your knees for a king that loves you, that wants your heart. And we're here talking like this, like just throwing it out. And you're super untouched. I mean, I'm just very touched by your testimony and your story. It inspires me a lot. And I hope that people can see that even when you're successful, it doesn't matter if you're successful or not. We all need Jesus.
Yeah, 100%.
You just remember, man, is you have what you do, God's prepared you for this. What you meant is your ministry. It meant, you know, the people you're able to impact, the rings you're able to get into that Rick and I can't.
Yeah.
Right? That speak your story, your testimony is your strength.
Yeah.
You know,
When your ministry is a circle of who you're doing life with. And the thing is that, you know, telling is selling. When they say it, it's true. And we talk about this all the time, that it's easy to say it. It's harder to live it. And so we try to live it because, and it's hard. I mean, we're going to have good days and bad days. We're going to have red candle days. We're going to have green candle days. But at the end of the day, you know, what we do in our actions is our testimony. And then when someone asks, then you can share. It's not like we're going around hitting people over the head with it. But at the same time, something I love about what Oscar and I are doing, and everyone and a guy like you, is that we are not at all apologetic Christians. We are strong men who are not going to be shamed that, oh, no, I'm flexing.
Yeah.
God is our dad. That's our dad. Are you kidding me? We're flexing for sure all day long. We're not sorry. Are we sorry for God's goodness in our life? Absolutely not. We're humbled because he gives us, and I think the point I was trying to make earlier is that he gives us the wisdom and the intellectual. I mean, we can get smart and try to get educated and all that, but God has made you wonderfully unique in your own way to do the things that you're doing in the way that you're doing it. And I could never do some of those things. We're all different, but God gave you gifts and you're using them for good.
Thank you.
Right on, bro.
yeah, Julia,
Kudos.
yeah. I mean, and you know this, and we had dinner a few weeks back and we talked, you know, on how when we make that decision, God's going to move when we move, right? And that's what it took. He was always there, right? He was always there. He was, you know, he elect you, he prepared you. And now it's up to us to continue to equip ourselves every day, right? Because it's not sunshine and rainbows, like you said. It's
And what is this mentality we have? Warriors of God, putting on the full armor of God every day because it's a battle. We know the enemy is going to come attack us. And how does he attack us? Depends on the person.
and we're no longer leaning on our strength,
Yeah.
right? We're leaning on his. You're going to have these peaks and valleys, right? We're going to praise him at the peak of the mountains as well as the deepest valleys. And just really understand that that's where we get our confidence, right? That's not confidence in ourselves. It's confidence in him and his promise and what he's.
It talks about boasting in our God only. Yeah. Amen. Yeah. It's good, Pastor.
Yeah.
I'll end, you know, so I have a mentor. You met him, Oscar. Love you, man.
Your story. Touch one, bro.
Yeah, love you, bro. I have a mentor, Dr. Jeff Spencer. You were at the penthouse listening to him. He's somebody that's really impacted me in incredible ways. And what's crazy is a lot of what I learned from him, and I'll go through a couple of things that I learned, but a lot of what I learned from him is in the Bible. It's living as a Christian, it's following Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you can know all of the right things to do, right? But you also have the decision to choose whether to do the right thing or do the bad.
Free will, that's what he gave us, man.
Yeah. So it's like one thing. There's this quote that I love from Virginia Satir. She's like this legendary author, right? And I literally say this quote in my head every day because it's a reminder of a decision that I have to make every day on how I'm going to show up for my family and my business. Right. And the quote is, most people choose the certainty of misery to the misery of uncertainty. Right. So 99% of the time, or 99% of the world will choose
What's known.
what's known rather than go through unknown. It's like you have two doors, right? Door number one's the life as you know it. That's the same circumstances, right? You're miserable in that, but you know what you're going to get. You're certain of that. And us as humans, we love certainty. Like it gives us comfortable. It gives us comfort, right? But door number two is like this uncertain. You don't know what's going to be behind that door. So that's scary. You don't want to go through there. And doing the right thing and doing the thing that's going to make you grow is actually it's miserable sometimes because you're uncertain of if that is going to be the greener pasture.
Yeah.
But you have to trust your tools. You have to trust the word. You have to trust that you have done the due diligence to continue to choose door number two.
Yeah.
Yes, things are going to be rocky, but there's beautiful growth and possibilities and opportunities for you and your family. And I think, and I so have to think about that every day because even in my business, I'm approached with, challenges. Business is like, people are like, Doug, you must be doing so well. You got all this money, you're around all these people. I'm like, no, it's chaotic and there's fires all the time. And it's sometimes it's just completely nuts. And there'll be a lot of uncertainty. There's a ton of uncertainty. And the reason why I make it look easy is because I just prepared myself and I just am aware that, hey, today might be crazy, but I'm going to give it to God. I'm going to show up.
That's right.
And I'm going to attack this day and we're going to get through it. That's it. It's like you just start to prioritize the chaoticness. You prioritize what's most important. Right. And that's how you continue to grow.
But that's different since you gave your life over than that last time, right? Yeah, but as far as the intentionality, because, I mean, do you feel like God is directing your steps and he's kind of going with you? He's giving you what you need. Like, he might quote something in your heart, doesn't mean you have all the answers, but he's there with you along the way this time around.
Yeah, it's way different. I don't feel like I'm alone now.
Yeah.
Because every time, you know what you told me last time we were here? You told me, even if you might be having the hardest day, you might have like 2 seconds between calls, and, all you do is say, God, speak to me and through me. I started doing that, bro. It's like big. Yeah.
The wisdom, Brett.
Yeah. He's always dropping his little nuggets. Dude, we're just trying to grab a quick to-go coffee. Why did you change my lap so quick?
Man, that's God speaking through. The word says, we make our plans that he determines our steps. We roll the dice, but he determines how they fall. And that's what a believer is. And that's part of the thing you just said a second ago was that, instead of the certainty of, I say people are happily unhappy with people are happily unhappy, but with the unknown of what God can have. God has bigger plans for us, but if we would only believe in that. But there's faith in that.
And I want to really touch on this because this has been a big topic or a consistent topic, with people that I've been talking to recently, especially those that are non-believers. You brought up something that I'm going to piggyback off of and saying like, hey, when I'm in the midst of the storm, like I'm good, I give it to God. You're really kind of understanding that we're also not painting a picture of perfection, right? Absolutely. We mentioned in the beginning that we sin and react. That's right. And being a Christian is accepting that we're not perfect. It's also accepting that we're sinners, right? But again, it goes back to we're no longer leaning on us.
And we don't have all the answers. And that's why we go to the word. Some of us saying like praying is talking, but reading is hearing. That's a fact. And it doesn't happen in that exact way. But just think about it. I talk to God all day long. It's not just on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we could, when we read the word, it's not the very moment we read it, but words come off the page on Saturday when we're playing golf or we're with some friends or we're just doing something or what. Oh, now I get, reading is hearing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just putting in that work, man. I could tell you for myself is like, I think we even touched on this briefly when last week we linked up. It's like, for me, reading the Bible is like, has been the most impactful thing, right? Like I can be in prayer throughout the day. I can talk about it. God can speak through me, but when I feel he's speaking to me is really when I'm in the word. And literally I could read a scripture and I may hear something one time, read it again, hear something completely different. I think it really kind of comes down to the season that I'm in. Or I've read, books in the Bible where I just kind of just felt like I checked the box. I'm like, okay, so then it's not, well, God, how come you didn't speak to me? Right? It's interesting that I always look back and I'm like, well, what was my posture? What was it? Was I just doing it just to say I did it? Was I trying to flex? Right? Or did I do it and kind of just prepare myself and say, heart condition? Yes. That's what it is. Absolutely. Was my heart condition there and saying like, okay, am I there? Am I present? Am I giving him my time, my heart?
Well, that's why we talk about all the time. We talk about, we believe that we always find what we look for.
Amen.
But who's looking for God? Who's looking for wisdom? Who's looking for him to show? Who's believing in he is who we say he is. So who is he? He's Almighty God. That's who he is. And when we say, hey, we're going to meet, I want to meet God today. Let's get in the way. Let me know.
Dude, kudos to you. Going to Vegas and double dipping, right? Yeah, going to Vegas, you did your work, Sonia went with you, and you still took, because you could easily just taken that trip by yourself. Yeah. And I'm sure in the past you probably would have. Yeah. Right? To say like, no, honey, let's go. And I think it was during Valentine's, right? Ish, it was, right? To take advantage of that. And sometimes, it's just that effort and really understanding like, hey, I'm going to be gone, but are you making those deposits in our marriage, right?
That's exactly right.
And because work can consume us, but we have to be intentional each day. Work is important. Being able to provide is important, but providing is not always a dollar sign, right? Are you providing your wife with your time, your energy? It's just as much as with God. He's not looking for that, for the religious, read the Bible, do these things, and then I will love you, right? He wants your heart.
And I'm going to piggyback on something you said earlier, and it was impactful, and that was that when you were talking about this guy who basically accomplished everything that he wanted to in business and lost everything that mattered. And that is not worth it. So, but we can still accomplish everything we want in business and be good men, have good marriages, be present fathers, be present in the moment. We can do it. We can do it. And that's God's comment.
And that's the thing with like balance, man. I see stuff on social like, oh, you're never in. You know what? You're right. You're right. You're never in balance, right? But it's the pursuit of. Meaning, I'm not going to use the excuse to say that, oh, we're so and so, and these people said we're never in balance. So now I have a reason to say I'm going to give all my time to work, or I'm going to give all my time to these other things that may not be important, to excuse myself for the lack of in another bucket, versus saying like, no, hey, listen, it's always a pursuit of. I mean, let's be frank. Isn't that being a Christian? We're accepting that we're not perfect. We're accepting we're sinners, but to be a Christian is wanting to be Christ-like. We're never going to get there.
That's the sanctification journey. Once you say that sanctification, the daily process of trying to be more like Jesus every day, even though we can't, the process is we're trying to be as much like Jesus as we can.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story real quick too. I was in the Navy, right? There was this, when I first started in the Navy, there was this, I was a corpsman, so I was medical, and I rotated on the wards where, old people that were on their deathbed would go, like on the ninth floor of the hospital that I was at, so they're in their 70s, 80s. Like, it's basically like if they're up there, like they got like 2 weeks or something, a week or so to live. And they're all elderly patients, right? I can remember this like yesterday, but so there's really, you never know when your time is going to be up. So you could be here one day, we could, the hourglass is upside down. There's so much sand. You could see the sand. You're like, oh, cool, I got time. And then you could wake up the next day at the gates of heaven. Like, like boom, stuff happens. But there's two pinnacle times in my life that I had that kind of, one last year that dropped me to my knees, right? That's where I felt like it was safe. But there was another time that kind of gut checked me, that I had the opportunity, but I still let the way of the world in between the last 15 years kind of get in the way, and I lost sight until I met Sonia. But the other significant time was I was rotating on the ward, and, I was only there for 2 weeks. I was brand new in the Navy, just learn how to take care of patients, right? That's it. And you would do anything for those patients. You would clean them, wipe them, feed them, all the stuff, right? And I would notice, every single patient at that floor had family constantly coming in and out because they're on their deathbed, basically, right? They're 2 weeks, a week out, he knows. And but there was this one lady, in this one room. No one would ever come to visit her. Every day I came into work, I said, anybody visit her? And, and I would check the log for the visitor list. Man, no one, does she not have family? Like, what's going on? I was like really concerned because I have a grandmother and, I've had other people I've lost. And I'm like, I would go see my grandma or my mom. Right. And I was responsible for her during my shift. It was 12 hours overnight. And so I would clean her, do all the things. And every time I went in there, she was completely straight faced. She never made eye contact with me.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. Didn't say anything to me. Fed her, everything. And then about 10 days goes by, 11, 12 days goes by. And I'm on the last day. It's my last night there. And after that, I'm kind of like done with my rotation on the ward. And then I think I went to the blood bank after for 2 weeks. But I go in there, man, routine. I go check on her, change her and everything. And I sat her back and I was about to start feeding her. And she turns her head and she looks at me. She makes eye contact for the first time in 2 weeks. And she smiles. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? How are you feeling today? And she said this to me. She said, and I think I remember it was something like this. She said, I've lived a very hard life. I have 2 children and I have grandchildren, and I wasn't the best mom or grandma that I could be. But God has forgiven me. I've turned my life over. And she told me that you have been a beacon of light and hope of what a good person can do in your small time with me. Thank you for taking care of me. Yeah. And I just remember she said that, and it was really powerful. And I was just sitting there and I could hear, the heartbeat monitor, boop, boop, boop. And all of a sudden, I started to notice that it was slowing down. Her breathing started to slow. Right. And the distance from the beeps got longer, but further away. And then you can hear it, a cricket in the room. No one was in the room, no family, no anything, just me and her. And then she just closes her eyes. And all of a sudden, beep, just like that. And I'm just sitting there in shock. I'm like, this woman just passed away before me and basically just surrendered and all of her sin and gave it to Christ, like in that moment. And I literally, I feel it right now. Like, oh my God, I got goosebumps. I felt like someone turned on the air condition, like to 20 degrees in the room. Like energy was just like, I could almost feel her passing through me as she was leaving.
This guy's jacking me up today, man.
Hey, it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had. And I couldn't move. I was frozen. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I should do something. So finally a nurse comes in and I'm like, what happened? I'm like, I think she just passed away, and that was that. And then I took a couple things from that. I was like, number one, I never want to be on my deathbed and be in an empty room. I think that might be one of the scariest things ever, right? To live your life and have all these amazing opportunities to have such impact on so many people you come across with every day, and to live your life in a way that no one would ever want to even just be with you or share memories with you in your deathbed. I think that's the scariest thing. So I think from there, it really instilled at me at 20 years old to try to live your life with integrity and do the right thing and serve other people, right? The only reason why I had such a great career in the Navy, by the way, which I made rank very, very fast, is because I helped serve other people and other sailors and help them advance their careers. And the reason why I had success in business is because I served other people. I focused on giving value to other people. And then my bank account never had to worry. The reason why I had such a great marriage,
You got a word right there.
up until a year and a half-ish ago or 2 years ago, is because I served and I got sidetracked and I stopped serving, right?
Yeah.
And as a man, we're here to, serve and provide for our family, our kids, and our wife. And if we're doing that, that's what's necessary. God sees the work that you're doing. He honors that. He honors that, right? And I stopped doing that. And when I stopped doing that, that's when I noticed things go downhill. And I forgot about these lessons that I learned. And now I've been brought back. And I'm just go, wow, what a vision.
God, it was already preparing you. When you're in your 20-something, he was already preparing you. And then we're called to be servant leaders. I think sometimes as men, we get our ego and our pride get in the way. And we have to remember that. Sometimes we need to either humble ourselves or we need to be humble. Yeah. Right. And really go back to that. We're here to serve. Yeah. Right. And and doing that from the front. Right. We got to understand what that looks like and putting in the work. And like I said earlier, sometimes we just need to get ourselves out of the way. Yeah. Right. But, it's exciting to see what God's doing in your life, man. And, you got to just keep showing up, keep armoring up every single day. And you got, guys like Rick, myself, Eric, that, we're in your corner, man. Absolutely. You know what I mean? It's where you're shouting, we're rooting for you. You're not in the valley alone, right? That's exactly, we're with you in the valley, we're with you in the peaks of the mountains. That's right. I think appreciate the importance. And that's, the big motivation behind Man Up is making sure that creating a community of fellowship, strong men that we are on fire and have a heart for God, right? And really understanding and having these moments of heartfelt stories, right? Like, you share that story, man, I get emotional. I was touched. And that's not a sign of weakness, man. It's a sign of strength, right? Really understanding that, like, that's where we pull our strength from. And sometimes as men, we have a tendency of, and I've been guilty of that, shoving that down. Before, man, I would not even share a tear. Yeah, now God softened my heart so much. This guy knows, man. If I like dropping the hat, brother, like what I did, they're holding back. Like, here he goes again. I'll copy this morning. It was whole, yeah. Like, oh man, here he goes again. But you know what? At first, it would kind of bother me, and I'd get a little bit embarrassed. But then I realized, like, no, you know what? This is God's work, right? Absolutely, I embrace it. Yeah. When it happens, I let it go. It's a beautiful thing. Because I feel like that's how I'm also able to connect with people. God softened my heart so much and really understanding, like, hey, bro, you're not that perfect, right? And really understanding, like, we all have a story. Yeah. And when we're able to do that and be vulnerable, right, it shows our strength. And that's where we're able to lift each other up as men. Yeah. We're called to be fishermen of men.
I think the thing is being safe people. That's another thing about Man Up is, like, we can all be critical, and there's always a judgmental side of things. But I like the word advocate that Travis said better, but really it's about, are you a safe person?
Yeah.
Are you, and we were safe to share some things where there wasn't judgment. There wasn't thoughts about, oh, you're weak or anything like that. It was like, and that's the thing, we need to learn how to be safe men with other men where they can be vulnerable, where they can share some tough stuff. And there's not a reaction, and there's support. Like, okay, I've had my stuff too. We all have a log in our eye. Yeah. No one's without sin. Like he was without sin, cast the first stone, right? So it's all about, we all have our stuff. We all have our challenges. At the end of the day, Man Up is about being safe for other dudes where we can get together and share some stuff and be there for each other so we can overcome. Because at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do, and we're all having an attitude in the spirit that we're not victims, but we're overcomers in Jesus' name. Amen. We're overcomers, and that we can walk humbly with our God, but confidently in him, that he's got a plan and a hope and a future for us, and we're going for it, man. So we're not sorry about it.
Well, bro, I'll just real quick. You guys didn't ask me for a testimonial, but I'm just gonna kind of give you one because Oscar, we've been friends for a really long time. You started doing Man Up, I think, sometime, I don't know, maybe a few months ago. Yeah, recently. And this is like the first time I got connected to you, and we're kind of like I'm on the Man Up platform, and I feel really comfortable coming with you, and now I consider you a brother as well. Let's go, and what you guys are doing works because I've been able to come on your platform and share my story and be vulnerable and shed some tears too, which, you're doing here is really important. That's why when you asked me to come on, I'm like 100%, because more of this needs to happen. There's not enough happening in it, right? This needs to grow.
Yeah. There's so many more Dougs out there currently.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, there's only one Douglas. There's only one.
Wait, there's only one that you fresh and please. Sick it when I said Doug's. Right? This part is very specific.
By the way, that's just the word. Right.
No, to my point is, there's a lot of men out there right now that are in that season and need to hear your message. And it's us. God created this platform. This is all about him.
Amen.
You know, we're just navigators of whatever he wants us to do. And this creates a platform for men like you that have done well, have struggled, and God's got you. And he's going to use your story through the Man Up podcast to help impact. No question, those men that need to hear it, man. We could sit here for hours and chop it up. The beauty of it, this is not the it's the first, but it's not the last.
Amen. That's right.
You have to do it. Do it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah.
Keep an eye. We'll be dropping these baby up here soon. It was Man Up, Big Dog. Let's go. Let's go. Raise away.
Awesome.
Dude, let's go. That was awesome. That was so fire. That was great.
That was good.
Dude, I felt the spirit on me a couple of times.